All right. Good morning. So for today, we'll be doing fractions. You'll be doing fractions, and I believe you've been seeing questions of this nature. So the fractions, the similar questions you can be getting for the fraction spent, and then the fraction left. The fraction spent, and then the fraction left. And also note that the total fraction is one. The total fraction is 1. Are you okay? Good. And so if they say Opanga has money, Opanga has money, and then he spent maybe two-thirds of the money, two-thirds of the money on food. Maybe the remainder, find the remainder or the fraction left. Or the fraction left. So just as we've learned from here, always the total fraction is equal to 1. And so if you want to find the fraction left or the remainder, it is the total fraction, which is 1, minus the fraction that was spent, which is two-thirds. Which is two-thirds. And so 1 minus two-thirds is one-third. How did we get it? If you just add 1 to this, you get the same. So always, if you are subtracting a fraction from 1, add what, when you add to the top, you get the same as the down. And so if you have something like 1 minus 5 over 9, the answer is 4 over 9. Are you okay? Good. If you have 1 minus 6 over 11, the answer is 5 over 11. If you have 1 minus 1 over 2, the answer is what? 1 over 2. If you have 1 minus 3 over 7, the answer is what? 4 over 7. Good. If you have 1 minus 6 over 15, the answer is what? 9 over 15. And so I want you to note this. Always the total fraction is 1. So you subtract the fraction spent from the total fraction. Are you okay? Good. And so with this, Opanka has money. He spent two-thirds of the money on food. Find the remainder or the fraction left. So if you want to get the fraction left or the remainder, it is the total fraction minus the fraction that has been spent. So with here, two-thirds has been spent. And so 1 minus 2 over 3, which is 1 over 3. Now you're okay? Good. So that is it. So I want you to understand this very well. I want you to understand this very. Let's go to another side too. Let's go to another side too. Maybe Opanka has money. He spent 1 over 3 on food. 1 over 3 on food. Maybe 1 over 2 on entertainment. And so find the total fraction spent. So find the fraction spent. Find the fraction spent. I. Find the fraction left. So he has money. He spends 1 over 3 on food, 1 over 2 on entertainment. So you have to find the fraction spent. So the fraction spent is 1 over 3 plus 1 over 2. So these are the things he spent on. Are you okay? So let's just add this fraction. So with this, you just find the LCM. So just as we learned in the LCM, you find the LCM of these two, the denominators, 3 and 2. So it is 6, right? Good. And so 3 enters into 6, 2. So 2 times 1, 2. 2 enters into 6, 3. 3 times 1, 3. How would this, you remember your JHS thing you did, right? Good. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So 5 over 6. So our total fraction is 5 over 6. Now if you come to our fraction left, our fraction left, just as we've learned, is equal to the total fraction minus the fraction spent, which is 5 over 6. So 1 minus 5 over 6 is what? 1 over 6. I hope you get it. That's all, and we are done. So I want you to understand this so that when we proceed, you understand better. You understand better. All right, so let's go to more examinable questions. Let's look at some of the questions that I have been receiving from some of you, so that we can learn, and then appreciate the um, the fractions. And so let's look at this question. With this question, it says that Amma says Amma spent half of her money, let's say of her salary, on food. 1 over 5 on entertainment. If she still has 400 Ghana cedis, how much was her salary? How much was her salary? Okay, and so with this question, it says that Amma spends half of her salary on food, 1 over 5 on entertainment. If she still has 400 Ghana cedi, how much was her salary? And so Amma is a worker. Now, the question didn't give us her salary, but the question says that she spends half of her salary on food, 1 over 5 on entertainment. And then if she still has 400 Ghana cedis, how much was her salary? And so with this, with the transfer of knowledge, with the fraction that we learned, that okay, our total fraction is always equal to 1. And so with this, let's find our fraction spent, and then let's find our fraction left, or our remainder. Let's find our fraction spent and our fraction remainder. So our fraction spent is Amma spent 1 over 5 of her salary on food, 1 over 5 on entertainment. So we can find our fraction spent from this. So our fraction spent is equal to half plus 1 over 5. Good. So with this, you find the LCM. So when you find the LCM of 2 and 5, it is 10, right? Okay, so 2 goes here, it goes here 5. So 5 times 1, 5. 5 goes into 10, 2. 2 times 1, 2. And so you get 7 over 10, right? Okay, so these are fractions spent. So our fraction left, is equal to what? The total fraction minus the fraction spent, which is 7 over 10. And so this, you will get 3 over 10. I've told you how I got it. Alright, good. And so these are fraction left, and these are money left. And so this is equal to this. So 3 over 10 is equal to the 400 Ghana cedis. Are we okay? Good. And so if you want to get the total money, we will turn the fraction. So we turn the fraction like this: 10 over 3, then multiply by 400. Simple as that. It's simple. So we just do, and then we will get 1,333 Ghana cedis, 33 pesos. So this is Amma's salary. Are you okay? This is Amma's salary. So if the question went on further to say that after finding her salary, okay, now find how much she spent on food. The question says that she spent half of her salary on food. So if you want to get food, so food is equal to 1 over 2 times this 1333.33. So you just find half of this and you get 666.7. So this is the money she spent on food. All right, that's good. Now let's go to another question. With this, she says that let's say Adepa Adepa spent 1 over 4 of her salary on entertainment, 2 over 3 on rent, and 1 over 6 on food. If she still has 500 Ghana cedis, how much is her salary? How much is her salary? Good. And so we have a question like this. Adepa spends 1 over 4 of her salary on entertainment, 2 over 3 on rent, 1 over 6 on food. If she still has 500 Ghana cedis, how much is her salary? Okay, so with this, just as we learned, always make sure you find your total fraction, and then always make sure you find your fraction spent and then the fraction left. And so our fraction spent is it that they spent 1 over 4 on entertainment, 2 over 3 on rent, 1 over 6 on food. So 1 over 4 plus 2 over 3 plus 1 over 6, right? So we find the LCM of 4, 3, and 6. We find the LCM of 4, 3, and 6. So when you find the LCM, you see the LCM is 12. So we've learned LCM, and so you find the LCM of 4, and then you write it here, 12. Now 4 goes here 3. 4 goes here 3. So 3 times 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes into 12, 4, right? 3 goes into 12, 4. So 4 times 2, 8. Okay, and then 6 goes into 12, 2. 6 goes into 12, 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, let's make these changes in the question. Let's make the rent 1 over 3. Let's make the rent 1 over 3. Okay, and so if yes, then mean that 3 goes into this 4. So 4 times 1, 4. Okay, let's I'm just giving you the questions out of my mind, and so when I'm solving and I realize that you get an incorrect answer, then I change it. Are you okay? Good. And so Adepa spends 1 over 4 of her salary on entertainment, 1 over 3 on rent, 1 over 6 on food. If she still has 500 Ghana cedis, how much is her salary? And so you find our fraction spent. So from this, our fraction spent is what? 1 over 4, 1 over 3, and then 1 over 6. Good. And so let's add 3 plus 4 plus 2 is 9, right? 9 over 12. Good. So our fraction left, or our remainder, is equal to 1 minus 9 over 12. Which is equal to what? Which is equal to 3 over 12. Which is equal to 3 over 12. So now this 3 over 12, this last remainder, 3 over 12, is equal to the money that is left, which is 500. So just as we did in the previous one, what do? We turn the fraction. So 12 over 3, then times will come, times 500. As simple as that. Are we okay? Good. So let's use the calculator. 12 divided by 3, 12 divided by 3 times 500. What do you get? You get 2,000. We get 2,000 Ghana cedis. So the first salary is 2,000 Ghana cedis. 2,000 Ghana cedis. Okay. So now let's go to a different dynamics of the question. Different dynamics of the question. Okay, so with this, let's look at this question. It says that Amma spent half of her salary on rent. She spent 2/3. She spends 2/3 of the remainder. So underline this, of the remainder. Underline it. Of the remainder on food. If she still has 200 Ghana cedis left, how much was her salary? Now, if you see that this question is different, with this question it says that Amma has some money. She spends half of the salary on rent. So the salary, she spends half of it on rent. Good. Now she spends 2/3 of what is remaining. She spent 2/3 of what is remaining on food. If she still has 200 cedis left, how much was her salary? So with the previous questions that we did, all the fractions was on the total salary. But with this one of them is on the total salary. The next one is on the remainder. Good. The previous one that we did, all the fractions were on the total salary. But this one is on the total salary. The next is on the remainder. Good. So now let's see how we'll solve this. Now, Amma spends 1/2 of her salary on rent. So fraction spent is the 1/2. Fraction spent is 1/2. So if Amma has spent 1/2 of her salary on rent, so the fraction left is what? 1 minus 1/2, which is what? 1/2. So this is the money that is left after Amma spent on rent. Good. Now the question is, she spent 2/3 of the remainder. So this is the remainder now. This is the remainder. It says that Amma spent 2/3 of this on food. Are we okay? So Amma spent 2/3 of this on food, because this is the remainder of. That's why I told you to underline the of the remainder. After spending half on rent, the remainder, the fraction left 1 minus, which is half. So this is the remainder. This is the remainder. Are you okay? Instead that she spent 2/3, she spends 2/3 of the remainder. That's why I told you to underline of the remainder. So she spent 2/3 of. You know that when mathematics you say of, it is times, right? Good. And so food is what? 2/3 of the remainder, which is half, right? So we just find 2/3 of 2/3 times 1/2 is 1/3, right? I hope you get it. These two will cancel these two, so you left with 1/3. Good. So this is the fraction he spent on food. Fraction is spent on food. Are you okay? Now, if you want to get your fraction left after spending on food, this was the money that was left, half. The money is now half. And then out of the half, he has spent 1/3. And so if you want to get the remaining, it is 1 over 2 minus 1 over 3. Please, I hope you get it. Did we get it? Let me go back again. So this is where the question usually comes from. The first one that we did was just basic to make you understand. So please open your eyes and ears and then listen to this one. Amma spends half of her salary on food. She spends 2/3 of the remainder on food. If she still has 200 cedis left, how much was her salary? Where's my hand? Okay. All right, let's continue. Amma spends half of her salary on rent. She spends 2/3 of the remainder on food if she still has 200 cedis left. And so with this, you could see that with this question is different. Amma has the money. She spent half of the money on rent. Now, the rent is gone. The remaining, she spent 2/3 of the remaining on food. So we come here. Now the fraction spent, the first fraction spent is rent, half of a salary. So this is the fraction spent. So the fraction left is the 1 minus 1 over 2, which is half. So now this is the money that is left. This is the money that is left. Good. If you come to the second question, it says that she spends 2/3 of the remainder. Of the remainder. This is the remainder. Now this is the money left of the remainder. Because she spent 2/3 of the remainder on food. You know that 2/3 is the same as what? 2 over 3 times the remainder. So 2 over 3 times the remainder is equal to 1 over 3. Are we okay? So now if you want to get your fraction left after spending on food, it is the half that was left after you spent on rent. Half minus 1 over 3. Are you okay? Alright, so 1 over 2 minus 1 over 3, with this you find the LCM. So the LCM of 2 and 3 is 6. So 2 goes here, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 goes here, 2 times 1 is 2. So you get 1 over 6. So now these are fraction spent. These are fraction left. Quarter, our fraction left, quarter. When we reach here, there was no expenditure again. We didn't spend on anything again, so we won't subtract anything from this again. So it is this that is equal to the 200 cedis here. Because the question says that when after spending on food, you didn't spend again, there was a money left. And so this 1 over 6 is equal to 200. So 1 over 6 is equal to 200. What did I say we do? We turn the fraction. So 6 over 1 times 200. So this you get what? 1002. Simple as that. Are we okay? Very, 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 very simple. Now let's look at this question also. Let's look at this question also. Opanka spent 2/5 of her allowance on food. He spent half of the remainder. She spent half of the remainder on rent. If he still has 1,000 cedis left, what was his total allowance? What was his total allowance? Are you okay? Good. And so this is how it will be. Now from this question we can try it. Okay, now from this question we can see that Opanka spends 2/5 of her allowance on food. He spends 1/2 of the remainder on rent. If he still has 1,000 cedis left, what was his total allowance? Okay, so what do we first do? We see that for this we have of the remainder. So let's underline of the remainder so that we don't confuse ourselves. Of the remainder. Good. So Opanka spent 2/5 of her allowance on food. So our fraction spent. So our fraction spent. So our fraction spent. First one was 2/5. Anytime you see the remainder, you don't add all the fractions just like we did in our previous specs. So you'll be doing it bit by bit anytime you see remainder. So Opanka spent 2/5. So the fraction spent here is 2/5, right? So our fraction left will be what? 1 minus t/5, which is 3/5. So these are fractions left after he spent 2/5 of the allowance on food. These are fraction left. Now, are we okay? Good. Now the question went on to say that he spent 1/2 of the remainder. Now this is the remainder. This is the remainder. He said he spent half of the remainder. So half of the remainder on what? He spent it on what? Rent. Spend this on rent. So rent got half times 3/5. Are we okay? Good. And so 1/2 times 3/5 is what? 1/2 times 3/5. Yes, it is 3/10. 1 times 3, 2 times 5. You get it. Good. 3/10. So this is the fraction he spent on rent. And so then what is our quarter fraction left? That is our last fraction left. This was our fraction left after he spent on food, 3/5. Now out of this 3/5 we have spent 3/10. It was 3/5. Out of this 3/5 we have spent 3/2. So what is the fraction left? So our fraction left is equal to 3/5 minus 3/10. Good. So what do? You find the LCM. Find the LCM. The LCM of 5 and 10 is 10. So 5 goes into 10, 2. 5 goes into 10, 2. So 2 times 3 is 6. 10 goes into 10, 1. 1 times 3 is 3. So you get the answer to be what? 3/10. That is 6 minus 3 is 3/10. So now this 3/10 is equal to the 1,000 cedis left. Are we okay? Good. So 3/10 is equal to the 1,000 Ghana cedis. So what did I say we do? We turn the fraction. So 10/3 times 1,000, which is equal to, punch your calculator, 10 divided by 3 times 1,000. You get 3,333 Ghana cedis, 33 pesos. Are we okay? Good. So basically this is all we need to know about the fractions. Always make sure you know your fraction spent and you know your fraction left. So your fraction left is 1 minus the fraction spent. And so always note again that if you see any remainder, you know the dynamics of the question will change. So just as we've solved, you just follow it, and I believe it will be simple. So I'll give you questions on similar ones so that you can try, so that I can see if truly you understood the question. All right, my name is Emmanuel. You can call me Opanka, and I love you all. Have a good Monday. Bye bye.